Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, if you are a Kaspa holder and you have discovered this channel, make sure to subscribe. We cover Kaspa consistently, ladies and gentlemen, all right? We cover this coin probably, it's hard to say, but probably like 4 to 6 times a week. We cover the technical analysis very consistently. Sometimes we even cover certain news as well, but we do try to stick to technical analysis so you guys do have a peace of mind when it comes to holding this coin. Look, I know people are, kind of, iffy about Caspa, not because the project is bad, but because of the previous price action we saw kind of in 2024, right? We saw like certain coins have insane gains, while Caspa didn't really do much, right? The maximum you probably would have made is probably like 2 times if you got in early 2023. And maybe if you got in at the dip of 2024, right, you could have got some type of nice gains. But overall, you probably were looking at a 60 to 80% average gain if you did buy on the lower end, right? So nothing too impressive, nothing too crazy. I want to say this because this is something that I noticed, and this is where I believe we are in terms of Caspa. I really do truly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are somewhere in this kind of phase right now. I do believe, right, if we were looking back, we are somewhere over here, and I will explain why. Okay. Kaspa has been fundamentally going up, which is a really, really good sign. Now, some people like big pumps, and I understand you want to be seeing 30% in a day, 50%, 70%, and then you want to see that for multiple days in a row, for multiple weeks in a row, and I get it. And look, that time, that fun will come. It's called the peak of altcoin season, where we practically pretty much 4 to 6 weeks see the most insane consistent gains for pretty much all the coins unless you invested in something really bad. Okay. And that is the truth. That is the truth. We can see that Caspa has been kind of just fundamentally going up. We know we covered this before that we said there's a high probability that we will be tapping into this order block, which we exactly did, which also created a reverse head and shoulder and some type of support, right? We can see, boom, we have a shoulder, we have a head, and then we have a wide shoulder, a little bit deformed, but the point still stands. So things look great. Not only that, but we had our fourth confirmation of a higher low. So clearly, right, we can see 4 indications that we are, we were bottoming out, over here at 6.5 cents, right? We had the higher low, we had the head and shoulders, we had the support, and of course we tapped into this order block. So 4 very, very nice indications. And then ever since then, we kind of have been just fundamentally going up, right? We went up, we kind of were going sideways consistently for multiple days, right? We were consolidating. And, usually we have this type of consolidation, you kind of just see consistent pump, pump, pump for a decent amount. But the reality is we kind of just, we went up a little bit, but then we slowed down right away. And that's because we are trading very, very fundamentally. And that is what we love to see. Now, this is different, right? When something trades fundamentally instead of just having those quick rallies, it's because the whole market sentiment is shifting. Kaspa will not be going back down to 8 cents, 7 cents, 6 cents this cycle, right? The next time we will see potentially these types of prices are during bear season. Even then, we have to see how high Kaspa went and how low we will truly go. But that is a discussion for another day. Okay, so we can see, right? We are just consolidating. We have a decent breakout, nothing too crazy. We retest, we pull back a little bit, nothing too crazy. We push up, we pull back, nothing too crazy. We consolidate again, and then we look again to be kind of just breaking out, right? Very, very nice, very, very fundamental. It's kind of slow, right? But that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. Also, right, we were talking about in June how it was so close, or not close. It was very important to close, above this monthly candle over here. And that is exactly what we did. So, we had also another confirmation on a monthly chart that showed that we are looking good. We know the next big destination is going to be roughly around 11 cents because this is the very, very big key support and resistance. So we know we'll be targeting that. But before we talk about that, right, I want to talk about the similarities that I am seeing in Kaspa, right? Pretty much from when, it was down over here, right? We had some type of correction phase. And then when we started to go up, we were retesting very, very fundamentally, right? Very, very fundamentally. You can see consistent retest, right? Consistent retest going here, boom, and then we break out. Very, very slow, very fundamental. Anything that went too fast kind of went back into a nice big demand zone, right? Going to the demand zone, and then we can see that even though we did have some type of roof, the floor was consistently going higher, right? We have these lows over here, then we have higher lows, and then eventually, right, higher low again, and then eventually we are getting squished and blast off, right? Blast off. And now we are literally doing the exact same thing. We're going up slowly, but very fundamentally, which is good. And we are just consistently creating those higher and higher lows, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And that is what I love to see. This makes me happy. As someone that has been looking at charts for many years and has been in crypto many years, this is very, very fundamental. Yes, I know you want Kaspa to go to $3 tomorrow, but ladies and gentlemen, that is not how reality works. Okay. So you gotta give that up, right? Gotta be patient for a little bit more. The big thing, the big discussion is Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin dominance has melted a couple percent over the last week. Now we have to look for another week or two. You have to see, is it going to bounce off roughly the 61% and look for another leg to the upside before we kind of have something similar? And then we, have altcoins pump heavy, go sideways, and then really pump heavy? Or is this the beginning of practically this over here? Okay, that is the true indication. We'll know roughly, let's just say from even next week, but we'll have a lot of confirmation 3 to 4 weeks from now. Okay, we really, really will. Now, personally, I still want one more leg to the upside because we get that. There's a high probability we see Bitcoin hit insane levels of 135K, 140, 150, maybe even 160, 170K possibly, right? And that's going to be an extra couple of percent, right? Even if right now, let's say Kaspa hypothetically can go to $1.50 easily, but if we use certain ratios and let's say we did top out 160K and let's say, that's an extra 35% for Bitcoin, and let's say that's an extra 35% for altcoins, right? An extra 35% gains overall would be very, very nice, right? That would be, ladies and gentlemen, it would be roughly what? If you're looking at $1.50, like that'd be an extra 50 cents potentially Kaspa can pump, right? Maybe 50, 60-ish cents, which would be high, right? Obviously, the ratios are not one for one, but you get it, right? An extra leg and push to upside for Bitcoin means a couple more few short months of delays, 2, 3 months, but we are already so close to the finish line that for me, an extra 3 months doesn't make a difference, right? If it makes a difference of extra large gains for altcoins, like I said, I've been waiting for a while now, and those extra 3 months are really not going to affect me, especially if I know we are going to be making a lot. Listen, next destination is to, like I said, come back to these important zones to start overtaking these highs over here. Boom. These are swing highs, right? The next thing we want is to really get a candle close above 11.5 cents. Well, 11.7 cents. This zone over here, that is the main next big objective. And of course, retest, probably have a little fake, and then continue to go up fundamentally over the next few short weeks. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.